There was one tenacious journalist determined to expose the whole story. A journalist who is still uncovering secrets about the Krays and the establishment today. By the end of 1969, the Kray twins had begun serving life sentences in prison, and their time as London's dominant crime family was over. Meanwhile, their one-time friend and supporter, Lord Boothby, had surprised everyone by abandoning his bachelor lifestyle and marrying Wanda Senna, a Sardinian interpreter 33 years his junior.
Are you going to take back these remarks about women being a bother and a nuisance, huh?
I said they were hell, you know. She's going even further.
You've now changed your mind, have you?
Looks like it, doesn't it?
Boothby's scandalous past now seemed to have been successfully buried. But in fact, he was on the verge of being exposed. In 1969, a young author called John Pearson was researching a book on the Krays when he made a startling discovery.
I used to get on quite well with the Krays' mother, Violet Kray, and she said, well, Ronnie thought you'd like to see these things to help with the book. And she produced a small brown fiber suitcase, and inside there were some press cuttings and all that sort of stuff. But there was also in it some photographs, one of which was of the old Society restaurant. And there was Ronnie and Boothby with a boy.
Boothby had publicly stated he'd met Ronnie Kray only 3 times at his flat. Now there was photographic evidence of them together in a nightclub. There were also letters from Boothby to Kray dated 1963, while Boothby claimed they'd not met until 1964.
This was very specific bits of evidence which proved that Boothby had lied.
Pearson spent the next 3 years interviewing Kray associates and writing his book, while slowly piecing together the facts about the peer and the gangster.
I showed it to my publisher, and also I checked it through, as I'd been seeing Boothby, I checked it through with him. Everything totally collapsed at that point. The next thing was that Lord Goodman was on the phone to my publisher saying, I think you should know that this is highly libelous and dangerous, and we will proceed against you. Next thing I knew was the book was rejected.
8 years after the scandal, Goodman was still suppressing the story. And it wasn't just Pearson's book that was cancelled.
The Observer, who were going to serialize the book, also rejected it. And I wondered why at the time. And then I discovered that the chairman of the Observer Trust was none other than the blessed Arnold Goodman.
Pearson believes the cover-up even extended to burglary.
Shortly after the Observer fiasco, we'd been on holiday and came back and found that the house had been turned over by some spooks or someone who'd been in. And a whole file of stuff I had, letters and photographs of Boothby, had disappeared. But also, and this is absolutely true, my agent told me shortly after that her office had been turned over too. And surprise, surprise, the file on Boothby had gone. Now, if you're getting this sort of top-level dirty work, what can you do? I thought it was a good world in which if you told the truth, you shamed the devil. It doesn't work like that in England, though.
While Pearson was silenced and deprived of his living as an author, the establishment figures behind the cover-up went from strength to strength. Arnold Goodman, the lawyer who kept the scandal out of the press for over 10 years, became Lord Goodman. MP Tom Dryburgh was also given a peerage, while Bob Boothby continued to be an outspoken member of the House of Lords until his death in 1986. It wasn't until all 3 were dead that John Pearson was finally able to publish his story. Yet the links between the Krays and the establishment have still not been fully disclosed. Today, Using the Freedom of Information Act, Pearson has obtained a police file on the Krays, which has never before been accessible to the public.
Now let's see what's here. This is when the Krays were complaining about police victimization.
The report reveals that important figures within the establishment were lobbying police on behalf of the Krays.
It's painfully obvious that some of the people supporting these gangsters are well aware of the true position, and one can only assume they are receiving some reward for their efforts. Well, what all this boils down to is that there were people who were supporting the Krays and they were being paid to do it. And these were the same people who were then writing notes of complaint to the police saying, hands off the Krays.
But the most crucial facts within the file have been censored by the Attorney General's office.
It says that the Krays are supported by, and then there's 2 lines of blanks, so we don't know who those supporters are. Persons such as blank, 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 who hold positions of public responsibility. These people are still being protected.
According to the Attorney General's office, the names are blanked out because the people referred to are still alive.
Well, if people who were supporting the Kray twins in whatever dirty work they were getting up to, along with Boothby and so forth, are still alive and are still being protected, that is really very worrying.
The files will be reviewed again in 2014. But the names of those suspected of being on the Krays payroll will only be released once they are dead and buried and beyond reproach. Even after more than 40 years, with this scandal at least, it seems the priority is not to serve the public interest, but to protect reputations.
If your passion blows by